Hey guys, let me fix some problems we're having on my end. My fault. Oops. Uh Shit happens. How is everybody doing as I try to fix what's going on in the background here? Yeah, and on top of that, Discord is really kicking my butt here. Load. Load. What the hell is going on? Close some windows here, everybody. How are we all doing? I'm glad you can all hear me. I apologize from the lag. Thank you, Discord, for fucking up my night. Where they should be able to hear you. Oh, no, they can't. Let me make it so they can hear you. Now they can hear you.
Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? Hope everybody.
And that just cut out something. That's terrible. Let me send you a link, Data, and we'll change the median at which we are communicating on, because that was terrible.
Okay.
That is not what I meant to send.
Congratulations, Vash, on your new house. Hope the move wasn't too crazy.
Welcome, JCTV, to the chat. How are you doing? Since I was just over in somebody else's. That seems weird. Don't you?
What did you send me?
I sent you the wrong thing. What the hell is going on?
You send me your name.
Hey guys, we're gonna have some fun tonight.
Dream.
I've copied and pasted the link, and all it's given that is the stream name. Awesome.
Oh.
I'm leaving Discord, guys. I'm sorry for the problems that we're having today, but Discord obviously isn't cooperating.
I'm in Google Hangout now.
Hey, that's a whole lot better.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better.
I noticed something was wrong with Discord the other day, and then I was iffy about doing Discord, but I was like, it usually works for us when we do our show, but hey, you know, shit happens. So let's do this for people's benefit. We'll bring this over, and you guys can see Data and me talking. How's that?
There you go.
So how is everybody tonight? Look at this. We've got the Malevolent Rider. We've got our regular Nightbot hanging out in there. We got our new JCTV hanging out, checking out what this channel has to offer. We got the Nugs in the chat. We got a few of our regulars just hanging out. Tonight,
the Malevolent Rider.
The Malevolent Rider. I'm loving this guy. He's
always
about checking shit out.
The Nugs.
You brought me an interesting topic, and I have to say, I've spent about 5, maybe 6 hours trying to see what this topic is you brought me. And to the best I can understand, and I will alliterate what I have learned.
Why don't you first mention the topic? See what the chat says. Because we could always change topics.
That's where I'm leading, but something interesting you brought something to my mind. Now, you sent me this clip from something called Q Anon. And I was confused at first. But as I started watching some videos, I noticed Q is a person. And me being a semi-Star Trek fan, I know Q. So
yeah, no, it's either a person or it's either a person or a group of people.
So what I've gathered so far is Dad had sent me this information on this Q, the letter capitalized, Anon, shortened for anonymous, being 4chan and 8chan poster who apparently has inside information to government resources for the Department of not security trade or something. I forget what it was, the department that he supposedly worked within as a secret conspirator, and he was releasing information on things to come, including a Hillary arrest in April that never happened, that people were waiting for. And from what I gathered from research today, there was apparently a post yesterday. So,
oh, there's a post. There's multiple posts every single day.
oh, are there? See,
oh, and there's been posts every single day, multiple posts for literally a half a year, solid.
So this person is sitting on the inside of the government releasing information, or better, from what I've sort of maybe misinterpreted, this person is close enough to the government to offer enough insight into a situation to question things.
Yeah, I mean, he could be on the inside of intelligence. He could be in the inside of military. We're still not quite sure exactly where he's at. But
there's a lot of people reading into all of this. There's a lot of this is something I've never heard of, and there's
hundreds of thousands. The mainstream media caught wind of it, and they poo-pooed it. But who trusts them anyways?
Yeah.
But yeah, hundreds of thousands. Remember when there was that false missile warning in Japan and in Hawaii?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
That wasn't according to QAnon, that wasn't a false report.
All right, so
the clowns, he calls the bad CIA faction the clowns, and supposedly the clowns were able to get a North Korean submarine, and they actually launched missiles, but the White Hats actually blew the missiles up.
Now the White Hats are supposed to be the NGO health organizations there to offer aid and support.
No, not those White Hats. The White Hats, as in the part of the military, the part of the government, the part behind the scenes that are true patriots, that are fighting for us, that are supporting Trump and trying to arrest the elitists, the globalists that are trying to take over the world. That's what this whole thing is. I mean, it's a huge drama too. I mean, all the people that want to believe in something nefarious going on, and they also would like to believe in something fighting against it. That's what's triggering all these people to follow QAnon.
I sent you a message on Discord. I'm gonna let you explain this for a minute because
I mean, to be honest, I know about as much. Well, I may know a little bit than you, but I'm no expert by any means. Does anybody in the chat know more or has been following this even further? QAnon could be a honeypot. In other words, a situation where all the people that are conspiracy theorists are basically lining up and giving up our ID and information and being listed by the NSA as we speak.
Here's
Little little pink stickers are being affixed to their post office box every night.
Here's something that I got. Okay, now you showed me this in the video you gave me. In all honesty, to you and the audience, he gave me a video of some bald guy explaining this, and the way the guy explained it was so monotone that 40 minutes into the video, I couldn't help but turn it off for the third time, trying to watch it. So I did an internet search for QAnon, and boy, like, when you don't know what something is and an internet search pops up with this long list of shit and you're like, wow, I am an idiot. I'm definitely a numbskull. I know nothing about this. And then you start digging and you realize some of the stories and the facts and the information and the extremely cryptic way in which this information sometimes comes about. And you've got literally dozens, if not hundreds, of YouTubers that are taking these messages that are posted on, to my belief, 4chan and 8chan, because that's where QAnon started. You have
Ryder's having an issue with the stream.
Numbskull, for some reason my computer isn't picking the stream up, only my phone is. Thank you, YouTube, for offering me support. Fuck you, YouTube. Everybody, Discord, fuck you. YouTube, fuck you. Google, fuck you. Let's move on. God, who do I use if nothing works properly? I mean, I have all of the services. If they're not working, what is the point of having them? I could go to Skype if it's going to be nicer to me than Hangouts, but if everything's going to break, what do I use? That's it. I'm broadcasting on Facebook next week. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye. I am sorry.
Yeah, so it is surprising. I mean, you didn't know anything about it. You do a quick search, and you find out that there's, 1,000 YouTube channels dedicated to it.
To reading his posts and trying.
Yeah.
This is the weird part. They're not just reading his post. It's that they're trying to interpret what the meanings of things are. Because apparently he writes in, like
Hillary Rodham Clinton is HRC. Right. The clowns are the bad CIA. I mean, there's
and acronyms for things that are so short they don't require acronyms.
Right.
And it's... All right, so let's give you the outside look. First impression, weird conspiracy side. This guy is a Poe in respect to, I don't actually think he's a member or affiliated with any section or segment of the government. What it probably
the thing is, let me stop you there. The thing is, you say that, but then he'll write a post. And he'll say, Trump is going to tweet, watch Trump's tweet. And literally in a few moments, Trump tweets something that is related to what he's posting.
Okay, but let's say...
As if he knows what Trump is going to tweet before he tweets it.
Wouldn't some reporters also have some of that same intel? Wouldn't certain people who were close enough, but not quite inside the departments, have moderate intel that could mimic this? That was my first feeling, is how real could his intel be?
It's hard to judge. To be honest, it's hard to judge. I mean, and we all want to think that there's something going on behind the scenes, and we want to think that there's patriots fighting for us. We all feel kind of helpless. So, then I thought, yeah, you're right. Maybe it is a Poe where, I mean, imagine a mental game where this whole thing has got 100,000 people that would otherwise be marching on Washington. Instead, they feel like somebody is fighting for them, so they've got their ass sitting in their homes watching the posts as they come in.
Okay, and then some of the posts, because I watched about five videos. Let's say a total of 3 hours almost worth of content about this QAnon, and it's obvious from even the current videos the skepticism that comes because of either misread previous cryptic quotes or what he's putting out being looked at, like the Hillary arrest that he put out a month or two ago. That's one that caught my attention, and I went looking at it a little bit, and it's like everything lined up for this, and this were going to happen, but nothing fell into line.
Let me ask you this. There's something else that I noticed that he said, and do a quick search. 25,000 indictments this year. In other words, this is the war going on with all the pedophiles and elitists.
Now, to anybody that doesn't know what an indictment is, if they're watching you with plans, well, an indictment is slightly different than a charge. If they're watching you with plans to add charges, what they'll do is they'll make an indictment on you, which means they intend to charge you for this, but they're waiting to see if you're going to dig the hole deeper so they can get you for more.
So supposedly there's a whole bunch of indictments going out. Now, I don't know if you've ever followed like this pedophilia rings and whatnot, but over and over and over again, it's been found out that these rings go all the way up to the highest points in the government. And people have said that the elites use the pedophilia rings as a source of control. In other words, if they don't have somebody, let's say a senator, under their wing and they can't bribe them, if they can get them into a compromising situation, such as a pedophile situation or a sex situation, then they've got them and they've got their control. And this has been going on since like the 70s and 80s. There was a pedophile ring working out of Boys Town, USA. And the guys investigated it and traced it all the way to the White House. And then it disappeared. The same thing happened in England, where they had this pedophilia case, and they traced it all the way to the House of Lords. And the second it touches the government in that way, all of a sudden the investigation stops and all the files disappear. Now, there's also this thing called, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it was a private plane called the Lolita Express. And a multimillionaire owns an island in the Caribbean. And supposedly Hillary and Bill have been on this Lolita Express over 20 times, going to this guy's private island where he has sex slaves and children and whatnot. So, you know, I don't know. It's really screwed up. You know, when you look at this stuff as a normal human being, it boggles the mind how depraved people in our government that we vote for are.
Okay. I've got the Daily Dot, which is slapping me in the face with ads, and I'm trying to read through this. Apparently, Anonymous Decoder from Anonymous sent out a tweet On April 6th, 6,000 people arrested on sex trafficking, 30,000 sealed indictments, 25,000 orders for seized assets.
Yeah, that's another thing. Remember Trump signed that seized asset memo, where anybody involved in a situation like this can have all their assets seized. And all of a sudden, right after that was signed, the Pope is got his Lamborghini up for sale, and one of the Rothschilds is selling one of their houses in the Alps. So it's like, all of a sudden it's like, some of these very high ups are hurting for cash.
All right, so oops, sorry. This just popped up again inside this article. So I moved it over. Sorry, guys. I moved it to my big screen to stretch it out so that the ads wouldn't take up so much space. And I've got an April 11th post from Q People Among Us at Red Pill Joe replying to It's Angry Bob. All this LARPing has got to stop, guys. Get back to real world. These people will never be caught. They will never be given justice. Money talks, bullshit walks. Ignoring all the rest of that post except for 4 letters. LARP. That's come up 3 times in my Anon search today. The whole LARP, the live action role play, pretending that you're in or are this person or in this environment, that you are acting this out. And that's sort of where I was leading to with my question of, is this a real person? Or is he somebody sitting at the window staring in, pretending to be in the group, giving information that could be so close that the wrong parts about it could be that he's not inside. He's not actually in the know. He's on the outside of the group.
Or is it an actual anti-COINTELPRO type situation where they're putting this out there for all these believers to believe in, to almost feel like they're LARPing along?
Right. And some of these people actually feel like they're helping in a part of this by spreading or disseminating the information that Q is putting out.
Right,
and
exactly.
It makes sense.
And on top of that, do you know how many times I've heard, and Trump is playing 4-dimensional chess?
7th dimensional chess. Come on.
You know what the crazy thing about that quote, 4-dimensional chess or 3-dimensional chess?
It doesn't. Well, it does actually exist. It is really a game, but
is it?
Yeah, 4th dimensional chess is actually a game.
Wasn't it just a prop on Star Trek?
Yeah, but it was developed into a real game. If you look up chess, there's
prop on Star Trek.
It was, but there are several dozen variations of chess.
Right.
So, 3-dimensional chess is a 4-layer board that allows you to play chess up the dimensions. So you can only climb to the 4th level.
You don't have to. Dude, you don't have to explain it to me.
But understanding it is a real game.
Okay, it uses a board and it has moves, and somebody developed it just like somebody developed Klingon as a language.
Right,
Yet,
it's a real language.
There are any real Klingons out there? So if we do meet a real Klingon, I don't think the language is going to mesh with their language.
Hey, can you hold the show for a minute? I'll be right back.
So yeah, it's been going on for so long. He's been talking about plane crashes. He's been talking about all these people that are going to start getting arrested. And I'd love to believe it's happening. I really would. I'd love to believe that Trump is an outsider that is actually going to drain the swamp. You know, the thing is that is reality going to prove us right, or is it going to prove us wrong? Or is this whole thing really something even worse? I mean, is this whole thing some sort of mental game to pacify an otherwise woke section of the population? I don't know. It's something to think about. But yeah, it keeps on getting bigger and bigger. JCTV, all signs point to that. You know, all signs point to that. When I was doing research on Trump, I don't even think you can find the damn documentaries on his dealings in Ireland when it came to him making that golf course. But you know, he played some dirty tricks on people that were living there for a very, very long time. You know, be that as it may, you know, he Scotland. You're absolutely right. It was Scotland, and there were people living there for generations, and he didn't like the look of their properties, and he would order bulldozers to dump dirt around their house to the point where it was a mountain, so they couldn't be seen. And at one point he accidentally or on purpose cut the water supply to one of these people, and wasn't in a hurry to fix it. And you know, of course, he offered all these people tons of money to move, but you know, they've been there for generations, and they didn't want to move.
I'm just jumping back in. Sorry about that. Looking at you, Trump, and listening here. All right, Trump is after two things. He's out to suit himself, and he's out for the money. And if you're running a business, you can only do so many things within the confines of the law. And what Trump
that's the thing, but
used it to his benefit. Is he could
but you know what? He listen, there's been many cases where he's gone beyond that, and he's gone beyond that. I mean, there were situations back in the day where he had a building and there was African Americans living there, and he made it impossible for anybody to be living there until they all moved out, and then he was able to change the whole building into condo.
It's not just
it's
Trump,
illegal
though. That's not just. Yes, it is illegal. It is an illegal business practice because it's been used so many times.
It's illegal to cut somebody's water off. It's illegal to bury somebody in their own house with a mountain of dirt. He was able to get away with it. It's illegal to bulldoze dunes that were a national park, and he went ahead and did it. Over here in Florida, he's got a golf course that's in Doral, and he went ahead and there was properties all the way around it and whatnot, and they had a beautiful view of the golf course, and everybody was happy, and he didn't want to see the properties, so he built a friggin' a wall and hedges and whatnot, and he basically killed the view for everybody. Yeah, it was his property. He could do whatever he wanted, but I think it was against what he said he was going to do. So in other words, he's the type of guy who will literally say anything at any time just to get, just to keep the conversation going. And then later, when he gets in his head that he doesn't like something, he'll do whatever the hell he wants. Screw whatever he said before.
Fair enough.
So,
that's very true. I'll give you that. Trump is...
Listen, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I still hope and pray that he's going to drain the swamp. I hope and pray he's going to clear out a lot of the dead wood in the Republican Party. I hope and pray that the Democrats wake up and clean their house too, because the Democrats have gone so far left that I look like a Republican to them, and I'm a Democrat. So,
I'm indifferent.
I hope a lot of things, but it's like hope for the best and plan for the worst.
Yeah, and I try to think about this. Let's do what I do. Let's say I were Trump, and I had the money and the power and the establishment that he had, and I bought property and wanted to do something with it, and I'm willing to spend extra on the property, and I'm willing to pay the fines, and I'm willing to do all of the other shit to get what I want out of it, and I've got the money to get what I want out of it. Why shouldn't I be able to find a way to get what I want? Isn't that what the point of getting all that money was, is to be able to do what I want with my money?
Yes and no.
Taking it down to simplest terms.
Listen, your little kid wants milk, and after she gets the milk, she puts the milk down. She didn't really want milk. She wanted what she wanted at the moment, and when you supplied it to her, she
saw Dr. Pepper and then all of a sudden wanted that instead.
Just because he's a billionaire and he wants what he wants doesn't mean that he gets what he wants.
That's true. And I'm not saying that just because you have money, you should be able to have whatever you want. I'm saying that if...
Listen, you can make plans. At what point do you want to
draw the line? That I guess this is the real question. At what point do you draw the line between I worked my ass off to get to where I am and have what I have to do what I want to do versus, well,
as long as again it's this. As long as whatever you do, when you do what you want to do, doesn't affect other people in a bad way. That I think is the line.
Okay, and how you interpret that line is important.
And to be honest, that's what I thought this country was built on. When people say small government, I want a small government. I want a government. I don't want a small government. I want a government to stand next to a individual and back that individual up if that individual is fighting a multinational corporation. That's the size of government I want.
All right. And wasn't there something that Trump did in October or November of last year?
Listen,
Didn't
I love
he
that
eliminate certain things that allowed people to fight against multi-conglomerate corporations individually and not as
that's
groups?
the thing. It's like, I love when he got us out of the TPP. I love that he got us out of the Amero. Huh?
Later, JC.
Oh, bye, JC. I love that he got us out of the North American the what is it, the NAD,
North American Fair Trade
Alliance, right? But then he turns around and he gives all our private data to the internet companies.
The worst thing about Trump right now is the signing of the tax bill this year. That has to be on the top of the list of the worst things he's done. And granted, I kind of understand why he went along and signed the bill. You can only win so many fights. He's working by his own rules of the art of the deal. And in order for him to get a better deal, he's got to give them what they want a little bit and make them think he's willing to give in.
That tax deal is going to be
It's
a fucking
garbage.
nightmare in 10 years.
Fucking garbage. That tax deal is horrible.
Not only that,
Everything I
but it
look
gets
at is
worse.
garbage.
And it gets worse in 10 years.
Yeah, it does. When certain some of the write-ins on there end
when
in
all the
10
people
years.
that don't have money have no write-offs, and when all the people with money have no taxes, oh my God! And then Social Security and Medicare, you get cut.
Was it?
I don't want to be around.
Was it you? And then we'll try to diverge back to QAnon. Was it you that I was talking with about 80% tax rate to people over a certain income, below another income?
Yeah,
how if you...
I was telling you back in the 50s, the top tax rate was 80%, but the very first $800,000 in the 50s, which is like $3.2 million today, is tax free, and then everything after that was 80% for in taxes.
Yeah, and that seems
and at that time when that was the case, you had the poor, the middle class, and the rich all rising together.
And then what
words,
wasn't it?
We were all feeling a positive, strong dollar. Didn't cost much for our cost of living, and we were all putting money away. We were all, starting a little savings plan. That was great. Now it's totally. It's a person who's in poverty will most likely stay in poverty no matter what. A person that is in middle class is losing every single year, and where all the money is going is the top 1%. And not even the top 1%.
Correct.
The top 1/10 of 1%.
0.1%. 1/10 of 1% of the people control the largest financial amount in history.
I want to show you
the top 1%. You only have to make $378,000 a year to be in the 1% bracket. I'm in the 51% bracket, and we barely break $30,000 a year.
There's also people that say that income tax is wrong too. In other words, income, the definition of income is not labor. Income is when money makes money.
Yeah, it used to be what you made off of your dividends from having investment.
Right, that's income. When you work for somebody, that's an exchange. You're not making money. You are taking your time and effort, giving it to somebody else, and they are compensating you for that time and effort in money. So it's a exchange. It's the same as if I had a barrel of oil and I gave it to you, and you gave me, if I gave you $20 worth of oil and you gave me $20 for it, who's making money? Nobody.
It's a trade.
Right. It's an even trade. That's what salary and I mean, if you think about it, the word tradesman, a person that has knowledge of something, and he is trading his knowledge to do something for you, and you compensate him by paying him. Yeah. You're trading with him. You're trading his knowledge for your money.
Now that's called under-the-table work, because you can't legitimately do it without getting fined or taxed, or hell, I've even seen people have to face court for working certain jobs past certain hours and not being paid properly. Under the table jobs cause trouble. I've seen people taken to court for not paying legitimately.
Yeah. You know, I saw this one guy in, I think it was Illinois. He sued his home loan company. And it's funny because he won. He won because the home loan company, you know, when it comes to a loan, most banks don't even have the money when they give you the loan, right?
Right.
They just put the debt onto a sheet. That debt turns into capital magically. That's the banking industry we have today. The judge found that since the bank literally didn't have the cash, the home loan, you know, any contract has to be a give and take. Well, the bank didn't give anything other than the loan. They didn't have the money for the loan. The money was magically, you know, acquired. So he got off his he got his house back, basically. Info docs. I think there's this. I want to show you a video, and it was really good. It showed the population of the United States. Wealth. Here it is. Wealth inequity in America. Here, I'm gonna shoot this link to you. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
How are you shooting the link? Discord?
I'm going to shoot it via, let's see.
I've still got our Discord message open from our failed attempt at
okay. Then we can do it that way. Here we go. Paste. Okay, there it is.
All right, explain what this is while I pull it up.
Okay, this is actually old information. So the numbers are even worse. But this is a graphic representation of wealth inequity in America.
Loading.
And it's funny too because it shows what people believe it is, what people wish it was, and what the reality is.
All right, should I know about any copyright, or should I just do 20-second?
I don't think you should worry about it. I don't even think there's ads on this video.
No ads. Published in 2000. Let me fix some audio issue here.
How they thought wealth was distributed. There's a chart I saw recently that I can't get out of my head. A Harvard business professor and economist asked more than 5,000 Americans how they thought wealth was distributed in the United States. This is what they said they thought it was. Dividing the country into 5 rough groups of the top, bottom, and middle 3 20% groups, they asked people how they thought the wealth in this country was divided. Then he asked them what they thought was the ideal distribution. And 92%, that's at least 9 out of 10 of them, said it should be more like this. In other words, more equitable than they think it is. Now that fact is telling, admittedly, the notion that most Americans...
Say that again?
I said full screen that.
Oh, yeah. Let me get rid of... There we go. Getting used to how I run this show separately from the Great Debate.
know that the system is already skewed unfairly. But what's most interesting to me is the reality compared to our perception. The ideal is as far removed from our perception of reality as the actual distribution is from what we think exists in this country. So ignore the ideal for a moment. Here's what we think it is again. And here is the actual distribution. Shockingly skewed. Not only do the bottom 20% and the next 20%, the bottom 40% of Americans barely have any of the wealth. I mean, it's hard to even see them on the chart. But the top 1% has more of the country's wealth than 9 out of 10 Americans believe the entire top 20% should have. Mind-blowing. But let's look at it another way, because I find this chart kind of difficult to wrap my head around. Instead, let's reduce the 311 million Americans to just a representative 100 people. Make it simple. Here they are: teachers, coaches, firefighters, construction workers, engineers, doctors, lawyers, some investment bankers, a CEO, maybe a celebrity or two. Now let's line them up according to their wealth. Poorest people on the left, wealthiest on the right, just a steady row of folks based on their net worth. We'll color code them like we did before, based on which 20% quintile they fall into. Now, let's reduce the total wealth of the United States, which was roughly $54 trillion in 2009, to this symbolic pile of cash. And let's distribute it among our 100 Americans. Well, here's socialism, all the wealth of the country distributed equally. We all know that won't work. We need to encourage people to work and work hard to achieve that good old American dream and keep our country moving forward.
Of course, I have comments about socialism being prerequisite of socialism is to have capitalism involved in the network, whereas if you get into communism, socialism is inherently dissolved, being that capitalism cannot be involved in communism. Hey, we'll move on.
So, here's that ideal we asked everyone about. Something like this curve. This isn't too bad. We've got some incentive, as the wealthiest folks are now about 10 to 20 times better off than the poorest Americans. But hey, even the poor folks aren't actually poor, since the poverty line has stayed almost entirely off the chart. We have a super healthy middle class with a smooth transition into wealth. And yes, Republicans and Democrats alike chose this curve. 9 out of 10 people, 92%, said this.
Okay, so I hate to keep cutting, but this is something else I want to throw in here. This curve looks very interesting, and granted, it's going to change in a minute. So let's look at this.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is also the ideal.
This is ideal, okay?
Right.
So I've looked at the national government has a statistical chart that allows you to type in what your average yearly income is, and it takes the U.S. IRS statistics based on the yearly income from the entire nation and dilutes it down to statistics over where you fall based on income levels for the nation. And me thinking I'm poor because our family earns $32,500 a year before taxes, okay? Before anything else, $32,500 a year is our household income. I thought 20-30% line maybe, because that seems awful low. I have friends that make 40 and 50, and that's still kind of low. And when you look it up, when you realize that $30,000 is like the 53rd percentile, that changes the way you look at a chart like this.
Right.
It really does.
This was a nice, ideal distribution of America's wealth. But let's move on. This is what people think America's wealth distribution actually looks like. Not as equitable, clearly, but for me, even this still looks pretty great. Yes, the poorest 20 to 30% are starting to suffer quite a lot compared to the ideal, and the middle class is certainly struggling more than they were, while the rich and wealthy are making roughly 100 times that of the poorest Americans, and about 10 times that of the still healthy middle class.
100. Not
Sadly,
20,
this isn't even close to the reality. Here is the actual distribution of wealth in America. The poorest Americans
Let's look at that chart before he goes on. Do you see that chart now?
Yeah.
Look at the 50 percentile.
Right.
Okay? And a conversation that I got into. Do you own a house, Dada? Do you own a rent?
I rent.
Okay. And your rent has probably been going up for the past 4 or 5, 10 years even?
My rent has more than doubled in 10 years.
I bought a house last year. And I got into a conversation with my neighbor who also owns his home. How do you hold the investment of purchasing a home? Okay? I bought the home. I had the money to finally get it. I put money into the home, but at one point, do I have to say, No, I'm sorry. Buying a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread is more important than replacing this board that's rotting away. And the following year, it's these 3 boards, but I need to make sure I need gas to get to work. And the following year, it's this whole corner of my house is starting to rot, and I need to replace the siding, but I'm having a hard time making sure there's something for my kids to eat. And how long can you afford to maintain an investment if the cost of maintaining the investment costs you more than the initial investment?
Well, not only that, but you got to also understand that the Fed is devaluing our dollar by the minute.
Yeah.
A dollar doesn't buy as much as it used to, and the future doesn't look very, very good. And Vash, you're absolutely right. It is very old, but it is very relevant.
It is. It is very relevant.
Because the numbers are even worse now.
I lost my point there, but it seems so hard. Oh, now I remember. Do you have a savings account? Do you remember what your savings account got you about 10 years ago per dollar? Wasn't it like 5.5%, 6% interest?
Not even. To get that interest, you'd have to put it in a
10
CD.
years ago. 10 years ago,
Even
you could put it in savings and get 4.5%, 5.5%, 6.5%.
I'd say a regular savings account is about 3% right now.
No. That was 5 years ago. It was 5 or 6% 10 years ago. It's 0.5% average savings account yield. So you earn a half a cent for every $100.
The banks are making money hand over fist. $25 fees for this, that, and the other.
And they're paying you a 12th of what they did 10 years ago.
I mean, if you're 2 days late on your cell phone bill, they charge you $40 on a $50 bill to reinstate it, and some computer does it for them that they don't even have to hire somebody. Nope. So basically, you give some computer your credit card information, it pays the bill, and they charge you $40 for that.
Fees and charges. They make all their money. All the big money is made on fees and charges.
Yeah.
But that aside, think about this. You, in middle class, working your ass off at a decent job these days, you fall short of not only where people think you should be, but you fall short of being able to afford to maintain an adequate style of living.
Right. You can't. In other words, that's the whole point. There are people working full time right now that are homeless, that cannot get an apartment to live in. They're living in their car.
Yeah. Or
and they
in
work
California on the road.
Time. And they work full time.
Yeah. Yep. And because they work full time, this is, again, backwards part of the institution, you only qualify for benefits if you work under like 12 hours a week now. To work 12 hours a week is nothing.
The past 10 years, somebody in a corporate job has done more and worked harder and longer and more overtime, and because of computers and whatnot, have their work product has doubled and tripled, and yet their salary has been flat. And since it's been flat, since the dollar has been dissolving, it's actually they're going backwards.
Yeah.
They're working more for less.
You see it right now. Memorial Day's coming. What have you seen at the pumps lately? I've seen 60 cents in the last 3 weeks. 60-cent increase per gallon.
It's anywhere from $2.79 to $3.25 around my house right now.
Did you get a pay increase this last couple weeks with the gas?
I work for myself.
Oh, well, then I can't ask that question. But I know my wife, who works a full-time job.
Man, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, all my clients, they're all having a hard time paying their invoices. You know, they'll write their checks, but then sometimes they just can't write me a check. It's just too tight, and I understand. I mean, I can't fault them for it.
Oh, I'm shutting. Like, I've literally been arguing with my service providers, telling them I'm sorry, but I'm shutting services down here in a couple of months. You guys got to tell me what I need to do to shut services down. I can't afford to keep your service. Either you lower your price or I cancel you. And I've been doing this left and right.
Look at Comcast. Everything's a fucking bundle with them, and all I want is single-digit internet, and that's it. They keep on trying to shove, digital phone service, and high cable service, and all this other stuff, and they want to keep my bill up at $125 a month. All I want is $50 a month internet.
That's just so they can pay for the advertising, so that along with your, 3 copies of your bill they send you a month as soon as it comes out, they can also send you 3 ads a week to get you to subscribe to something already have.
Not to mention all the damn call centers constantly calling your phone, asking you the same question every month. Go ahead and play the video. Yeah. You're going to be really shocked at this last little part.
Yeah.
Register. They're down to pocket change, and the middle class is barely distinguishable from the poor. In fact, even the rich between the top 10 and 20 percentile are worse off. Only the top 10% are better off. And how much better off? So much better off that the top 2 to 5% are actually off the chart at this scale. And the top 1%, this guy, well, his stack of money stretches 10 times higher than we can show. Here's his stack of cash, restacked, all by itself. This is the top 1% we've been hearing so much about. So much green in his pockets that I have to give him a whole new column of his own because he won't fit on my chart. 1% of America has 40% of all the nation's wealth. The bottom 80%, 8 out of every 10 people, or 80 out of these 100, only has 7% between them. And this has only gotten worse in the last 20 to 30 years. While the richest 1% take home almost a quarter of the national income today, in 1976, they took home only 9%, meaning their share of income has nearly tripled in the last 30 years. The top 1% own half the country's stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. The bottom 50% of Americans own only 0.5% of these investments, which means they aren't investing. They're just scraping by. I'm sure many of these wealthy people have worked very hard for their money. But do you really believe that the CEO is working 380 times harder than his average employee? Not his lowest paid employee, not the janitor, but the average earner in his company. The average worker needs to work more than a month to earn what the CEO makes in 1 hour. We certainly don't have to go all the way to socialism to find something that is fair for hardworking Americans. We don't even have to achieve what most of us consider might be ideal. All we need to do is wake up and realize that the reality in this country is not at all what we think it is.
No shit. Let me see if there's anything else.
And again, this is old data.
Yeah, because right now, what he's saying is the top 1% is 1/10 of that.
Right. And the numbers are even worse. In other words, he's saying 40% of the wealth. No, it's like 75% of the wealth now.
Yeah, and it's no joke. If you look into, just take what your average gross yearly income is. And somewhere, I have the site somewhere in my Discord under the links. Type it into the IRS catalog that tells you where your income falls, what percentile you come in the nation.
Project management tool called
Wait,
Monday.com.
what?
This
No,
is what it
stop
looks
playing.
like, and this is what it feels like.
Fucking commercials.
You know how much the CEO of Comcast makes?
I'm willing to bet somewhere in the billions a year.
No, a year.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet somewhere around a billion, like 900,000.
No, I'm talking about his salary, not his stock options and all that. But
Oh,
Just
so you're
his
looking at what?
his weekly paycheck.
Oh, weekly. I think yearly
Well,
salary would be about 700 to 900,000
yeah,
without
he makes
benefits.
he makes $32 million a year.
What?
So that's about what a little more than a $500,000 check every 2 weeks.
I could live off his 1 week paycheck for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding there. I can live a year comfortably on 35, maybe 40 grand.
I hear you. I'm seriously considering. I don't know if okay. Have you heard about stealth camping?
No.
Have you heard of tiny homes?
Oh, those like who designed it? Was it Frank Lloyd Wright designed an efficiency home that was bought by Ford?
This is like this is a new thing. People are getting fed up of buying big houses, so they're shedding all their crap and they're buying these little micro homes, and some of them are even built on a trailer, and they're just trying to live life to the fullest by not tying themselves down to a huge, debt. So the other aspect of this is called stealth camping, where people are actually buying vans and setting them up with solar and water, setting them up like little micro RVs, but from the outside they look like a regular construction van, like a plumber. So they can park, let's say, in a industrial area overnight, sleep, watch a little TV, maybe make themselves some dinner, go to bed, wake up in the morning, and drive to work.
Yeah.
And people are doing this because, if you can't get more income and you're working your hardest and you're making money, but it's just not enough to put away, then something's got to give. So like I said, my rent is doubled. So I'm paying like $1,200 a month on rent.
Yeah.
Well, if I didn't have that $1,200 a month on rent, and I didn't have the Comcast bill, and I didn't have the Florida Power and Light bill, that would be $1,500 that I'm not paying out, which would make $1,000 maybe I would be able to save and put away.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it was less, think about it this way. Even if it was just a hair bit less, I'm echoing through. Is that me? Even if it was minutely less, you would still have a little more to put away. But the taxes keep going up, so your rent's going to go up. The utilities keep going up, so your rent's going to go up. The fees keep going up, so your rent's going to go up. The services keep going up, so your rent's going to go up. And
so anyways, it's a way to be mobile. It's a way to have a lot less overhead, and a lot of people are doing this. It's a big YouTube thing too. There's another guy. If you look up living in a public storage warehouse, there's a couple people right now living in a public storage warehouse under the radar.
Yeah. You can get a storage hall for under $120 a year.
Right. Well, no, my public storage, it's a tiny closet, and I'm paying $80 a month. So yeah, I mean.
Oh, your short-term storage closet. Okay. The long-term ones, you pay like a set $100 and something fee. You get like 12-month lease for this little area.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's some of them around that do that, but you can't just go all the time to get in and out. They're only open certain hours. That's why they're lower rates. Then they've got ones that are like you can park your car in this bay for $40 a month, or park your boat in this bay for $40 a month. They're not meant for regular storage. It's supposed to be like boats and cars and stuff. There's
Right.
different types out there. But yeah, I've heard of people who live in their vans and then will pull their van into their storage unit to charge batteries and stuff using the plugs and then pull out the next day. I've heard of people doing that. I've friends of mine who look for ways that they can find places to park.
There's a YouTube channel. He's a guy that lives on the West Coast, and he bought himself a U-Haul truck. And it's a U-Haul box truck with a van front end.
Yeah.
It's like a little 12. It's like one of the small ones, like a 12-foot long.
450s, yeah.
And he built the whole inside box like an apartment.
Don't get me wrong. When I was in high school and worked a part-time job and was always partying, I lived in my van. It saved me a lot of money. I understand it. But it's sad that in my mid-30s with 2 adults and children in a home, that I'm thinking about, a van would be a more viable place to live right now because I can barely afford to keep the electric on.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, if you've got homelessness staring you in the face, all of a sudden a van looks pretty damn good.
Oh, it's beautiful. I don't even care if it leaks. I don't care if the heater works. It's a fucking place to sleep.
But yeah, that's a big movement. Just like the QAnon was surprisingly big in your opinion. Right now, tiny homes and stealth RV vanning is a big thing now.
I have a lot of windows open because while talking, I'm always searching, and I found a QAnon article here. I know you can't see it. Yeah, you can. Let me fix that so you can see it. Where is you?
Huh?
Where is you? Where am I talking to you at? I got too many windows. Oh, you're on this page.
I think you're talking to me inside the Google Hangout.
Okay. If the Hangout will cooperate with me, I will share real time.
But I've also got the stream open, so I can see what you're doing on the stream.
All right. A new conspiracy theory called "The Storm" has taken the grimmest parts of the internet by
Vash,
storm.
It is. I mean, I'm honestly looking. There's this company called Copart. It auctions off cars and trucks, and they're usually cars and trucks that insurance companies have gotten through claims and whatnot. So you can buy cars pretty darn cheap. Of course, some of them need some work. And I've been really looking into Sprinters and big old like Dodge Ram vans.
Oh, those like the old Ford Club Wagon vans.
Right. The extended ones, the ones that are a little extra long.
Yep. That's actually the van I lived out of when I was 18. Maybe I was 17. I forget. I lived out of a Club Wagon for almost 6 months.
I'd like to get it with diesel because diesel. I love diesel.
Yeah, but diesel depending on where you travel, it's diesel used to be cheaper because it doesn't require the refinement of gasoline. But diesel is now more expensive than gasoline.
Yeah, but what diesel is also higher miles per gallon.
No, it can be. It's higher efficiency per gallon based on the motor weight and fuel.
I used to have a '85 Suburban 4-wheel drive. I was getting 20 miles to the gallon with that thing. If it had a gas engine, I'd be getting 8.
There was I laughed because when I lived out in Cali, there's a lot of diesel cars out there that really shouldn't be diesel, and there was an old 92 Audi or something, I think it was, that was diesel that was built diesel for more power and had half the power of its gasoline alternative motor for the same year model make car.
Yeah, some of them are really slow in truck form. I'm not too worried about speed as much as just economy.
Yeah, he was saying climbing a hill, he could definitely tell he had no fuel at the top. But I'm gonna have to keep looking into this Anon stuff, as I usually do, looking into things from the outside. But
I mean, it's interesting to say the least.
Here's a question that I will offer, and then we'll wind this down towards an end. I guess maybe an hour and a half ish. How do we feel
time flies,
about this?
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, really. I just looked down and went, holy crap, it's after 8. My wife is falling asleep on my couch. How serious can we look at somebody if he's inside the government and he's presenting information, and the information comes through accurate predominantly? You offer a little credit to him. But then when something comes out that could be not so easily misconstrued, it looks very definitive as to what he's saying, but turns out to be wrong, do you then hold that against him? Or
that's the thing, because I mean, nobody's perfect.
No, nobody's perfect. Also, you have to wonder, if he were on the inside feeding us intel from the inside, some of the intel would have to be purposefully misleading.
Right.
In order to
and also
him.
and let's face it, not all intel is 100% either.
Yeah. We don't know Osama bin Laden isn't inside a stronghold or inside a cave.
You can turn frying oil into diesel to use it in an engine, but you have to process it. It's a little involved, not terribly involved. There is some.
Who does it the best?
Pardon?
Do you know who does that the best?
Who?
Look for colleges that have 4-H affiliations, ones that do farming and stuff. They almost always convert their diesel equipment over to fryer oil that they take from the college kitchen.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen a few colleges do that. I don't want to give out the names because it might indicate where I am or where I've been. But
earlier on in the chat, somebody said that you doxed yourself.
Did I? Happens.
Or maybe I doxed myself. I don't know.
We could.
I'm in Miami, so there you go.
I'm listed in New York City, so my computer does funky things to me because it's New York City.
New York City.
Yeah. I've been there once or twice. I'm not very fond of it. I kind of like the Palisades a little bit. It's a nice little area to hang out.
I was born in Long Island.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I went to Long Island. I've been over to the Bronx by accident. Literally by accident. I made it to Yankee Stadium. We realized we were at Yankee Stadium, we're on the wrong side of town, and kept going.
No, doxed his name to data. Oh, you did?
Did I? I doubt it.
You know what? If he did, I wasn't paying attention, so he's safe. Yeah. New York smells like a sewer, but it's a very pretty sewer. I've been there.
Hey, New York is only a pretty sewer if you don't stick around.
New York. I get my New York fix from watching what's his name, Neistat.
Oh, here's some of what I ran across earlier. Is these things?
What?
Q and the New York City bomb. Okay. And it's what I'm showing right now. Usually capitalized letters, BDT. This is the try to figure out what he's saying things.
Right.
Do you believe in coincidences? Blunt and direct time, BDT. Think currency, think fireworks. Thwarted, message delivered. These people are sick. Q. What kind of message is that?
It's very, very obscure.
Yeah. POTUS 100% insulated. Expect fireworks. Justice. This is... You could read this in so many different ways, but then when a less cryptic post comes out...
Isn't that a little bit like Nostradamus, too?
Yeah, I don't hold much water in Nostradamus tales. It's hard to predict what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone what the year 3000 is going to look like for us. So
there was a furry chlorine attack, Vash is saying. In New York?
Did he say anything about the chlorine attack and the furries had happened to them? No, I don't think Nostradamus or Q knew about that event.
He did talk about all these. Did you notice, like, there was a month where all these military planes crashed?
No, I don't think I've gotten that deep into this.
Well, one of the Thunderbirds crashed, and then another plane full of Marines crashed, and then another plane crashed, and he was saying that this was part of the ongoing war with the globalists.
I'm gonna have to look more into this. It's definitely deep. It's definitely conspiracy.
Oh, and like I said, I mean, if you thought that these were just like a handful of posts, no, this is 6 months of multiple day posts. So you got.
I did notice that there was.
He talked about. Did you hear about the military taking over the CIA headquarters?
I got 5 hours, maybe 6 altogether on QAnon research. And
did you hear about the military taking over CIA headquarters?
No, there was one. The original video you sent to me with the bald guy started to get into that. I think I was.
Even, to be honest, I didn't even watch that video, but I saw the title where it said an explanation of QAnon, and I thought, okay, perfect. I'll send this to him, and it'll give him just like a brief overview.
All right, what we're looking at here is we're looking at these acronyms. What he does is he uses these acronyms like BM and BD to establish these weird words. But if you don't follow him and you haven't followed him for these 6 months, you're not going to know what these acronyms are. In fact, we're not all sure what these acronyms mean. We're presuming what they mean based on the intelligence that he's offered us. And he just talks in that tone the whole
Ryder is, I think, counting down the end of the show.
I think he is. He is on his way to the next one because Ryder lines up his evening much like I do. Hey, look, who's on next? We've got Fright Supremacy on. We've got Cerilius Ventili.
Let's put a pin in it for tonight. And I want to thank everybody, Vash, Ryder. Who else is here? Maybe that's all that's everybody.
The next 6 minutes.
And everybody who came earlier. Right? Everybody who came earlier. Liberal, get the bullet too.
I like
sure. Welcome as always.
Hey guys, let's offer this. Let's offer this before we go. Dad and I have a few ideas, and we both have our tangents. And I'm somebody who likes to learn new things and be introduced to stuff. So if you guys, however few you are, would like to see something delved into, data is a wasteland of resources of information, and I'm a numbskull who will look at anything because I don't care what it is. And
there isn't much I haven't seen.
we're gonna try and offer both sides of the aspect. I'm gonna play dumb, even if I'm not. Sometimes, maybe I won't. And Data's gonna give more information wherever he hasn't. We're just gonna keep looking at it. And we're going to try and make something make sense somewhere. And if it doesn't, well, it is a numbed wasteland. So, yeah, shit happens. So if you got ideas, send them to us. We'll take a look. Maybe dig into them. Maybe laugh at them. You never know what's going to happen on this show because we don't. Do you?
Yep. No plan here.
Our plan is just to try and find something that's new to somebody and look at it, expose it, not necessarily for bringing it to all the information to your attention, but hey, by the way, I yesterday knew nothing about Q or Anon or QAnon. And now I know a little more than I ever thought I would. And it's troubling that there's somebody who believes he's Q, which to me would be somebody who watched The Next Generation and thinks that he has everything and is offering cryptic images to us to help us through life, like Q did with Picard. That's what I skimmed off the surface of this. This is somebody doing something, trying to prove his power or his place, or he's actually somebody giving information but trying to keep himself hidden. So
that's an interesting take.
So that's what we've brought to you, the audience. That's what I've got out of what Data offered me. And if you have anything more, we'll be happy to hear it. But you're right. I think it is about time to get out of here for the night.
Want to do 9/11 next week?
9/11. We'll do. Yeah, we can revitalize 9/11 a little bit more, delve deeper into than our 9/11 stream did, because there was some information we didn't touch on.
Well, remember too that I didn't have a mic then, so I was like chatting and you guys were talking.
Yeah, we'll do a you and I 9/11 stream, and we'll look a little more in depth into some of what we looked at last time. I might rewatch my previous one to see where we did hit too.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you'll come back again next week and
just
have a great Saturday night and have a great Sunday. And thanks for coming.
Hey, Data. Thank you for joining me here on Saturday night.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's fun to have somebody that you know you're going to chat with about something you have no idea what you're going to chat about.
There you go.
Hey, I'm going to do something blind at the end of the week. Wonder what it's going to be. Find out later.
Give your wife an extra big hug for me.
I might have to try and carry her to the bed.
Okay. Good night, all.
Have a good night, everybody. Stop sharing. Give me my end. Oh, I have to end on a different screen, guys. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm looking at all the wrong things here. Look at that. Thanks for tuning in. Later, everyone.